Hey guys, welcome back to a debrief for Mission 4, which is the Scramble mission for my Black Tempest campaign. And I'll just give you the layout. So it's just two aircraft, and we were hot started at the airfield. And then what's going to happen is that essentially there's a control that I've got set in the aircraft on the radio that's going to spawn in some artillery units. And the idea here is just to simulate that, you know, some enemy forces have gotten close by and they're shelling the airfield, and that's what gave us the explosions as we taxied out. One thing I noticed when I was getting ready to do this video is these guys spawned in way earlier than I thought, so I'd have to go back and check. I don't know if maybe I forgot to put these guys on late activation, which would explain why they were even closer than I thought they should be once we got everything going. But what should essentially happen is I did the radio trigger for the launch of these guys as we were taxiing out. So we taxied out, we got a bunch of rockets and stuff blowing up, and I had to do a lot of work to make sure that they didn't actually hit us or the runway to prevent us from taking off, because what's the point of the video? But close enough to kind of make some explosions and make it exciting for us as we taxied out. So once we taxied out, there's another trigger right here on the runway that once we take off, that should spawn all the aircraft. So that's why I say that lead group spawned earlier than I thought. So I may have, in my monkeying around with things, spawned those guys early. But you can see this is the attacking force. We've got 4 MiG-29s, and I did make sure that everybody was armed. But 4 MiG-29s followed by these 4 Su-25s and another pair of MiG-29s. Now, the AI started to do some weird stuff, and you'll see that here in a little bit. And of course, I tested this mission solo 10 times, if not more. And then they just started doing weird stuff. The only thing I can think of is literally the day we ran this mission is the day that the patch came out. And I did notice some strange behavior with the AIM 120s. And maybe that's kind of dorked up the AI as well, but I don't know. So at any rate, we took off. You can see there's just some more explosions going off. I was hoping this would time out and land as we were taking off. That'd be very thematic looking. Unfortunately, we took off faster than I thought we would. But anyway, we took off, and to Midnight told me later he thought that, you know, I told him what was going on in the sense that, hey, we're under attack. There's going to be aircraft coming in from the coast. But he thought they would be further away than they were. So he didn't make it a priority to get up to altitude. And I was kind of behind him, and I was kind of like, well, why aren't we going high? But he didn't know what we were supposed to be doing. So it's no big deal. But trying to get our bearings and understand what was going on. And right off the bat, I mean, these guys were super close once we started picking them up. So anyway, we got up to altitude as fast as we could, and we started firing up some shots. He got 1 missile off. I've got 2, and I think there was just a crew coordination issue. We were supposed to target 3 and 4. I remember saying step, but it looks like, and I don't know, I can't tell from the footage from my cockpit, but it looks like both of those missiles were going after 3. Neither of them hit, which is disappointing, and neither did Midnight's. That guy just kind of juked and jived out of the way. So none of our initial shots hit anything. These 2 press in. This is the guy that starts doing some weird stuff, and I think this guy back here starts doing some weird stuff too. Yeah, so we've got these 2 that split off, and then these 2 press in hard. So taking a look, we went cold, trying to get some space between us. Those 2 guys were pushing in on us pretty hard. We did snap back around, and then they just kind of turned off, which, again, just kind of weird behavior for them to have done and kind of just circle around. And some of these were even set to ace, so that's why I'm just super confused by their sort of lack of aggression at times. But Midnight came around, was able to get a shot off real quick and kill that guy. We were getting our bearings, as I recall, and I think we had this guy, but then he called out, so we kind of circled back around, and then again, this dude just kind of doing some weird stuff out here, just kind of dancing around. Came back around, they were cold, and then this guy, who is from the second flight, you can see his wingman has just gone off crazy, and then this guy is kind of rolling in, so these guys sort of team up. And I know one guy was high and one guy was down low. The guy up high was shooting at us. Fortunately, we were able to avoid that. And then Midnight gets another kill. I think we both shot at that low guy. And then as we turned outbound, I remember seeing this guy way up high, seeing contrails way above us, and we started to do some evasions. Neither of those shots seemed to have landed. Midnight with another snap around, and I remember him just going vertical and throwing this missile at him, and by God's grace, he was able to dodge the missile that came after him. We came back around, and that guy took a shot at us, which was kind of fortunate in the sense that it was a distraction for nothing else at Midnight to then snap back around and get another clean shot off. And at that point, we knew, or we had indications that there was still two aircraft, two slotbacks out in this area. We were getting indications. And once we got our bearings, we started heading out that way. Now, I think this is where we lost some situational awareness. And Disco, who was handling the AWACS calls, told us later, he was trying to get us without being forceful. And I think that AWACS should be a little, this is just me, but I think AWACS should be a little bit more forceful at times, but I understand it as well. But we were very focused on these guys, and what we should have been doing was focusing on these guys because they're actually coming in to attack the airfield. Now, back at the airfield, there is a Patriot site. However, as part of that initial attack by the enemy, the Patriot radar has been knocked out. So the only thing that's actually operating right now is an Avenger or two that's located there as part of that. So they're actually going to do some work, which kind of saves our bacon a little bit because we get very focused on these MiG-29s. So we push out, trying to figure out if there's one or two. We keep getting different indications. I make a shot. They both turn cold. We both took a shot there, and our missiles run out of steam. Actually, Midnight's hits, which is pretty wild considering the distance. Mine falls short. I come in close and finish off my guy. We join back up, and this is the part where we kind of pull our heads out of our butts, and AWACS is telling us, hey, you need to get over to the airfield right now. So we turn and go as fast as we can. I lost a little situational awareness as to where he was at this time. We were really studying the radar, trying to figure out what's going on. And meanwhile, back here, this is where those Avengers were doing some work. So the Su-25s came in and immediately started getting a face full of missiles. You can see just a ton of stingers going off. One guy gets hit a couple times, bails out. Another guy takes a hit. One dude was a wizard, and he avoided all kinds of missile shots, but it finally caught up to him. And it looks like the number 3 guy was coming in. He also was doing pretty well, dodging missiles, and about that time is when we showed up. So I had this guy locked up. I had one AIM-120 left. Midnight had a one Sidewinder remaining, as I recall. And I took the shot. It was probably a little bit too far out. I think we were about 10 or 12 miles when I fired, but it just ran out of steam. And at about that time, again, thinking that Midnight was behind me, I went ahead and took the Sidewinder shot, thinking that I was at a decent angle. And after I shot, realized I was not. And then I saw Midnight. He took his shot and hit the guy on his second one, which knocked the aircraft's nose cone off, and it was acting all kinds of crazy, but he was flying away. Midnight thought he had bailed out. I was pretty sure he didn't. And then we kind of circled overhead and realized that no, he was still alive. So Midnight came in, fired a bunch of gun at him. Nothing worked. And I was going to use my last missile. And then as I lined up on the guy, he finally decided he'd had enough and bailed out. Now, what you didn't see in the video was that there was this last MiG-29 out here. We were super low on fuel. We had, I think, about 4,000 pounds on my aircraft at this point, and we didn't know what this guy was going to do. It looked like he started to kind of come in, so we kind of throttled back and decided, well, we'd head that way if he wanted to continue, because what we didn't want to do is have this guy attack us while we were trying to land. We just didn't know what he was going to try, so we pushed out at him. He was kind of goofing off. And you can see he started to turn cold, and that was kind of our indication, like, okay, this is not happening. Let's turn around. And it turns out he was actually running out of gas, just like we were. So we went ahead and returned to the airfield, and you can see this guy is diverting to my cop, which is not even an enemy airfield. It's neutral. So he must have been super low on gas, and we both ended up finding an airfield to land. Now, what you can see in sort of the after and the bloopers, if you will, of the video is, I guess, a round actually did hit the runway at some point. And as we came in, Midnight, perfectly fine landing, and then at some point hits something in the runway that busted his wheel. Not sure what happened, but he ended up having to pull over on the side into the grass, and I landed, rolled past him, and he taxied in out of the grass. It looked like the tire was, the nose wheel tire was flat or something. So I'm not sure what happened. We didn't see anything on the runway, but I have no reason to doubt that, you know, he hit something. But anyway, that was the successful mission. So that is mission 4 in a nutshell. Really nothing too crazy. It was different to do it with a crew versus when I'm just doing it by myself. You know, I flew this mission several times, single pilot, single aircraft. It was able to do a lot of damage, but that was before the patch. And then I found that once the patch hit, just the 120s were not hitting the way that they were in initial testing. So I'm not sure what's going on there. And then again, really the lesson learned is, one, the crew coordination. I was very quiet in that because I was listening. There was so much listening going on. And I know there were times I probably should have been saying stuff, but I wasn't. I was more focused on trying to pay attention, trying to build situational awareness. I'm still slow at this when it comes to the fighter air-to-air type stuff. But it was nice to have Venom on board to help me out with that. But crew coordination was difficult. And then again, situational awareness, kind of losing track of the fight in the sense that what is the priority target right now? These guys were really not a threat. They were about 40 miles away, as I recall the call out. Whereas these guys were about 10, 12 miles out from the airfield. We should have gone down into there. And as I went back through the video and was doing the editing, I realized there were so many radio calls that all of us kind of missed at different times. You know, times where I can hear it very glaringly that, you know, one is calling me or AWACS is saying something and I'm not hearing it, or the other aircraft's not hearing it, things like that. So these things happen. You get that sort of information overload and you start to lose situational awareness. So anyway, thanks for watching this, and we'll see you guys later.